Say you're practicing arpeggios, starting on the first finger. For example, A major. There are a couple of things that you need to do to start getting these arpeggios to develop your hand. You need to be able to play your first finger on both strings in tune. It should be a clear, pure sound because it's a perfect interval. This requires finding the right spot basically on the end of your finger. So if you don't find it when putting your finger down, it's more a matter of lifting the finger and maybe moving it over to the side a little bit or angling the hand a little bit, but just finding the right spot that works for your finger to get the clear, pure sound of an in-tune fifth. Beyond that, you must be comfortable playing both strings all the way through to the tip of your bow and then back without distorting the sound. So your bow must be consistent enough in weight and speed and contact point to not disturb the sound. When you can do this, notice my strings have gone out of tune. That pulsing sound is the beating, and that tells me that my instrument is no longer in tune. So if your instrument is not in tune, you're not going to be able to find the right spot on the end of your finger. Eliminating the beating is how I tune by ear. So you get this phenomenon if your perfect intervals are imperfect. So the other perfect interval in this arpeggio fingering pattern, so 1, 3, 1, 4, is your octave frame. So there are two pairs of notes that you either get them or you don't, right? Your octave is either in tune or it's not. Your fifth is either in tune or it's not. The third, so in this case playing a C sharp, so a third is in a third from the A, makes a sixth with the high A, and I would encourage you to find the one that sounds best. And then lift your fourth finger. And test if all of your intervals are still in tune, and possibly your instrument. Notice when I'm listening intently that I'm doing long bows. I'm not changing bows often. That disrupts the sound and doesn't give the sound enough time to settle for me to hear if it's in tune or out of tune, because you need to establish consistency. If I were better, I could do this sooner. So long, light, but slow bows. And I don't necessarily mean slow bow speed, but I mean time-wise is what you need in order to listen properly. So you test your double stops. So your fifth. You can go up to your major third, so then you make a minor third from the C sharp to the E. And then you can make your octave, making a sixth with the C sharp and the top A. And then you can test your octave frame from there. Almost. I'm a little rusty. I don't like that. Great, I'm happy with how I've tuned it. So now my fingers are in tune for an A major arpeggio. Now perhaps I move up a string and I do an E major arpeggio. So same finger pattern. So my first finger on both strings. I'm in tune. Am I? Excuse me, my A string and C string popped a moment ago and the string went off the nut. Hang on. It's like this is far less in tune than it should be. This is more than just being rusty. Bear with me. So I'll go through the same. I'll go through the same process. It's good to know when your equipment is the problem and not you. So you tune your first finger on both strings. So here I'm just wiggling around and adjusting the angle on the end of my finger slightly. My viola's got out of tune again. Okay, got it. Great. That took much longer than I would have liked. And I know what I'm looking for. So do watch that you're not too far underneath the neck of your instrument. This is going to make it, if you're too far underneath, you're not going to be able to reach for your octave frame. So make sure that you've got lots of height. If you're having this problem that I'm having right now, where the fifth doesn't want to get established, honestly, then you're just going to have to do it every day. And you'll have it probably by the 8th day. Unless you're doing like the Bartók Viola Concerto, which has a fifth up here, in which case it takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But for me to play that, my finger doesn't even hold down both strings, it's actually in between. The other trick you can do is you can grab the string and pull them together, but this will distort the pitch as well, so you have to really practice that technique quite a bit. So now I have my octave frame. So now you can practice your finger independence. this process for any arpeggio using this particular finger pattern, right? Right up the fingerboard. I find it easier, honestly, to establish my octave frame first. If you have the octave, and also as you go up the fingerboard, you're probably going to have a harder time holding both strings down, so you're going to have to hop your first finger, so you're going to have to use your finger coordination to change the placement of the first finger if you've moved to a point on the fingerboard where holding the strings, both the strings down, is not feasible. And you don't want to do the grab technique. I guess I can still do it here. Okay, I found it. I found my octave frame. So I listen for a nice sixth with my third finger and my fourth finger. Right? If you make it too tight, it's not necessarily going to be in tune. You really do have to use your ear and find what sounds most pleasant to you. And if you don't know, you're going to have to ask yourself that question every day until your ears start to have opinions. If you ask yourself, does this sound good? And your honest answer is, I don't know. That means that you have to ask yourself that question much more. And then practice alternating. Remember, when you're practicing, you're just trying to make good sounds. You want to eliminate all the bad sounds out of your playing. Only good sounds. So when you're playing your actual arpeggio, you're not necessarily going to start with your octave frame down. But you need the double stops to train your fingers where to go and to train your ears what they sound like when they're in tune harmonically, so the notes sounding at the same time, so that you can have some confidence that when you play the notes individually that they're going to be right. Okay, so now I'm going to lift and hope that I get my fingers back down in the same place. So not perfect, and I could hear my fingers moving as I did it. But this is how you practice your arpeggios, to develop your ear, your bow, and your left hand. And it's applicable to all the arpeggios. There are so many passages where this finger pattern of 1, 3, 1, 4 comes up. And you need to be able to play it in tune and well everywhere on the fingerboard, ultimately. Other finger patterns for arpeggios, and similarly, if you're doing minor, right? So you would want your octave. Always good to practice octaves. So that your hand knows where they are. I'll check the double stops. Feels out of tune. Your ears will get faster, by the way, if you use them. They do get faster. Tuning is relative. You've gotten really good at making ringing notes happen. You can still get some ringing notes to happen and be out of tune. Sometimes they'll ring and be out of tune, so it's not a perfect method for playing in tune, but it's really, really important to develop. But at the end of the day, tuning is relative, so you need to start training your ears to hear how notes sound when they're in tune together. Dissonant intervals, so minor seconds, major sevenths, and tritones are the most dissonant and therefore the hardest to tune. And then just sort of normally dissonant intervals, so your major seconds and your minor sevenths are also hard to tune, again, because dissonance is difficult to tune. Consonant intervals, so everything else, perfect intervals, you either have them in tune or you don't. Thirds and sixths, you can play around with them, but I would recommend that you really train your ears to find the nicest sounds that you can. All right, good luck.